But we're going to go to something that, oh, whoops, nope. We're going to go to something that Bandit sent me from Rob Noir. I want to hear what he has to say about Destiny. This is the great Rob Noir, another amazing content creator. I want to hear what he says about Destiny, and maybe we'll get into more of it, but let's rock and or roll here with there we are. Excuse me. But yes, all right. Let's see what Rob Noir. He said it starts at 11. I'm going to 10:51. So let's rock and roll here, folks.
Anonymous accounts on a lot of places like Reddit and Blue Sky, and even on platforms like X. There's a lot of disgusting stuff going out there about Charlie Kirk, and I think that there's, even though I shouldn't do this, there is one special mention that I want to give. And one of the things it's difficult to do is
screen and
admit when you're wrong. And I have to admit that I was wrong about something. I will never interact with that piece of shit Destiny ever again.
Huzzah!
Ever.
Yeah!
The blood wasn't clean before he tweeted that. I talked about with the assassination attempt at Trump how I tried to give him leeway and say that some of it was jokes, that I was concerned about some of it.
I gave him zero leeway. No, I gotta pause here.
It's too much.
I gave him zero leeway. I just straight up said Destiny's a sociopath. Okay, like anybody that associates with him, you're suspect at this point. And at that point was when I kind of lost respect for anybody that still kept orbiting him. Then when the sexting leak allegations of leaking footage without somebody's consent or knowledge that they were, when that started dropping, I was like, okay, yeah, he truly is a sociopath. And a few people actually kind of walked away for a little bit. And, just as long as it was safe for their precious little clout careers. Spittoon. But I've noticed that here in Twitch politics or Discord politics or internet politics, it's really especially for the left, it's not about right or wrong. It's just about what's the most clout, what can I do? And they will excuse anything on the left, but they will harshly condemn everything on the right. And so it's this very heavy hypocrisy where they'll put up with people like Destiny and all of the just grossness that he brings to the table. But like, I hate to bring it up, but Connor, he will excuse everything and he will still keep working with Destiny. And like, I'm sorry, but working with a guy is in some way a bit of an endorsement. I'm sorry, it is. I know, like, now if you say, how could you say that? I'm sorry, but the left was saying that for decades, and that was their rules. So turnabout's fair play. I'm sorry. But yeah, Bandit goes, the sexting scandal showed who the real grifters are. But now, like, I just couldn't, like, Connor's saying, like, well, allegedly Trump cheated on his wife one time. So those are the kind of morals I just can't put up with. But now let me sit down with an interview with Destiny here for a little while. Like, oh, bro, come on. You are better than this. And so it's, sadly, Connor's he's an example of what I call audience capture, the same kind of as Tim Pool. Tim Pool was never really a right-winger. He was a lefty that happened to fall into a right-wing audience. And so due to the gravity of the audience capture, he became more right-wing over time. Connor is the opposite of that. He is a right-winger who fell into a left-wing audience. And due to the gravity of that audience capture, with every passing day, he will become more lefty than he is today. He will be more lefty today than he was yesterday. He will be more lefty tomorrow than he is today. And that's an unfortunate reality. Now, I've seen him actually make some sense today. Okay. So there's hope for him. Okay, there is hope for him, because like when Hassan was really freaking out about looking at the close-up footage, um, Connor straight up said on Twitter, "Hey Hassan, is all the things you advocate finally coming home to roost a bit unsettling for you?" And so yeah, there's hope. There's hope here, but I gotta admit to being somewhat disappointed with many of Destiny's orbiters. Destiny, like I said, it's the old story of woman finds a snake drowning in the river, and she brings it back home and she nurses the snake back to health, and the snake is finally healthy, and she sets the snake down. The snake turns around, bites her, and as she's laying dying from the venom, she goes, "Why did you do this? I saved you. I helped you." And the snake goes, "You woman, you knew I was a snake." Okay? That's Destiny. Okay? He's a snake. Okay? You helping him he's going to bite you in the end. He's a snake. Of course he would. Why wouldn't he? Um, let's see. Grow the farm up. Destiny. Oh, let me put on the glasses of extreme for this one. Destiny has been reduced to a psychological narcissistic liar that knows he has no relevance but shock jock takes. When the Surviving Destiny documentary comes out, it's going to be worse than Diddy. Oh, we will see. We will see. But yeah, that's being on with Destiny definitely ain't worth what it used to be. There was a time you're like, yeah, I was on with Destiny, man. What up, bro? And people would just brag about that. Now, it's one of those things that like you might tell other streamers, but you know what? You don't like brag to your parents or your girlfriend or like real people about that. No. Let's see. Bandit, slow clap, grow the farm up. PPPP, he's, I don't know what this means. If you could maybe rephrase that in a way that, because we if there is any confirmation on the killer, that would be wonderful. I'm gonna Google it up right now. Let's see. Charlie Kirk killer arrested. Manhunt continues as of 7 minutes ago. The Charlie Kirk shooter is still at large. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, at this point, yeah, if we don't find this guy, it will become the JFK Roswell 9/11 of the century. Okay, it will become the ultimate conspiracy theory of our era. Um, wow. Destiny is America's number one degenerate whose mind has totally eroded. You know, the open marriage thing and then that going the way it did. Here's the thing: any guy that goes through a divorce, you have a bit of a crisis in identity. Okay. After the divorce, because previously you were a husband, now you're not. You have a bit of a crisis in identity. Destiny took that crisis a little worse than most, clearly. Like just based on the words he's said is what I'm basing that on. But yeah, here's the thing: like, how long you gonna keep up that swinger degenerate lifestyle? You gonna be in your 60s and still doing that? Like, no, that's a lifestyle with a very real shelf life. Um, Destiny promoted this degenerate lifestyle that a lot of people tried to follow, and turns out that no, that's not a good way to go. And the more that Destiny revealed about himself, it turns out that he doesn't really have the capacity to maintain a healthy relationship. So I don't know if people should take relationship advice from him. I mean, he hasn't demonstrated that ability to maintain any healthy relationship of any measurable kind. So yeah, we should definitely let folks like that decide how we formulate society. Totally, right? Totally. But let's keep going with Rob here.
So that's it. I do not give a shit. If I'm scheduled to do an in real life event and I find out that he's going to be there, I will not attend.
Mm.
And if you couldn't see the full context, he's implying who will put the death date.
Wow. Destiny
So
is a
that's
real piece of work.
That's it.
Howdy, man.
So it's possible that a shooter or accomplice is still out there. I think that the lessons learned from the Butler assassination attempt plus the assassination attempt on the golf course.
Now, I want to see how Rob started this because I believe Rob and Charlie have had at least a few minor interactions. I might be wrong on that, but I believe they've actually interacted. So I'm kind of curious. Like Hassan Piker, you could see that shook him because I think those two have had actual debates on stage. And so, yeah, they ain't friends and stuff, but still, dude, you're on stage with got blown away. That's when things come home to roost there. But let's see. We got Grow the Farm Up Go. The more Destiny reveals himself, the more he proves why no one should ever take life advice about anything Destiny says. Did they catch the shooter? Any update on that? According to the BBC, as of 7 minutes ago, the manhunt still continues for the shooter. Okay, he's still at large. Grow the Farm Up. So, like I said, if they don't actually apprehend this guy anytime soon, this is going to become the main conspiracy theory of the 21st century. Like 60 years from now, there's going to be jokes about like, yeah, he's the guy who shot Charlie Kirk. Like, yeah, that's going to be sort of like the jokes about like, old rich guys say, I killed Kennedy and I'll kill you too. Like that kind of silly, weird joke. That'll become like, I hate to think that the shooter might actually get away with this, but there's got to, I mean, I'm sorry, they're going to have to triangulate this guy in some way, shape, or form. Now, the problem is modern feds don't really, like, all they do is just monitor cell phones and social media. They don't really do gumshoe police work anymore. So we might have to pull Columbo out of retirement on this one because, yeah, the police don't really do police work anymore. They just see what phones and social media happen to say. It's way easier that way. Ben, the guy from the rooftop is still missing. Not a new Jimmy Hoffa. Yeah, this might be a new Jimmy Hoffa. Yeah, you might be right on that one, JR. You might be right on that one, Grow the Farm Up. Oh, good Lord. Jimmy Hoffa. Now, Ben goes, have they grabbed two guys? They have grabbed two guys, and last I know, they have let them both go. Well, yeah, the first old timer, apparently he wasn't the guy. Apparently he was just like, the fact that his pants were down by around his ankles leads me to believe he was just a guy that happened to be carrying a gun that day. And so they kind of, if you made me guess, if you made me speculate, I'm guessing he just happened to be carrying a gun that day and people just descended on him. Ben, they will absolutely use this to push gun control and increased surveillance. Really, we're lucky that a Republican's in office because the gun control part's going to be tricky. When a Democrat gets in office, they're going to definitely push for gun control. That's the sacred cow of the left, is some kind of gun control. But thank God Clarence Thomas made his Second Amendment decision. It's going to be really tough for future courts to undo the Second Amendment thanks to Clarence Thomas's majority opinion in that Second Amendment case. That one was huge. Bien. Let's see. Jimmy Hoffa will always be a cornerstone of the community. Huh. I see what you did there. Grow the farm up. Candace Owens will figure out what genitalia the shooter is or was or changed to or was born as. Whatever. She's lost her marbles also. Yeah, now I think her and Charlie actually did have a pretty close personal, like not personal, but like professional relationship. I think they actually even went on a date many, many years ago before either of them got married. Now I could be wrong on that, but so yeah, that's got to be complicated for her. That Grow the farm up. Clarence Thomas rubbed his huge Second Amendment ball all over the Second Amendment. Well, what he did was he required any gun control legislation to have any possibility of passing muster anymore. It has to pass a historical standard. There has to be a history of this gun control being common throughout the United States. And so, yeah, you really can't, like, there ain't much that you can demonstrate for being a common gun control standard throughout the history of the United States. So at that point, it's like, well, guess all 50 nifty United States can just enjoy their Second Amendment rights. And that's the law we live under now. Ben goes, they already trying to push gun control on mentally ill, i.e. LGBTQ. Yeah, that is, I'm sorry. Like, unless you've been adjudicated a threat to yourself and others, that's a slippery slope. I always say, if you feel that you're being marginalized as a community in America in any way, you should probably start arming up. Okay, you should probably start pick up a Glock, a shotgun, an AR-15. If that's how you truly feel, and you're a good law-abiding citizen that just wants to live free, you should probably do that. The Second Amendment's just as much for you as it is for me or anybody else. So that's the way I look at that. But now I'm really curious how Rob addresses this. Let's get into this a little bit. Oh, goodness. We need to get rid of entrance music for videos. I'm sorry. We just do. Like, it's not really all that necessary anymore.
Hey, what's up, everyone? The Normal America Show. Hope you're all doing good. Obviously, a bad day. We're not going to do donos or do anything fun today. This is going to be a short stream. But
yeah, this is less than 20 minutes, and I'm not even going to get that deep into it, but they will keep pushing false flags until they get it gun control. Sadly, Ben, I understand exactly what you're saying. There is going to be a constant push until, and they will amplify whatever incident they need to, and in whatever way they need to, because they want the population disarmed. Because I'm convinced, I am 100% convinced that if it wasn't for the Second Amendment and the fact that, yeah, there's really bad gun laws in California, but there's still over 55 million guns in California privately owned. That's more than the People's Republic of China. Okay, that's more than their entire military. So even though they've got bad laws, there's still a lot of guns there. And so back in COVID, if it wasn't for our level of gun ownership in America, I'm convinced there's a few states that would have had the same kind of COVID internment camps that they had in New Zealand and Australia. Okay, we saw what happened in the COVID era when the lefties went on a power trip. Grow the farm up. Just don't arm up with a SIG. It's like the police like, drop your weapon. But officer, it's a SIG P320. Don't drop your weapon. Like, yeah, that's yeah, they've been getting roasted pretty hard lately. Which, hey, after that one guy got shot allegedly because of a malfunction, the internet roasting's coming. There's nothing you can do about that. But let's get a little deeper into Rob's take here. I'm curious.
thought that it was worth talking about. It's going to be boring. I'm not going to sit here and cast blame or say that it's this person's fault or that person's fault. I don't know. There's still details coming in. Of course, for those that don't know, Charlie Kirk was shot at a Turning Point USA event. If you are watching me, you probably know who Charlie Kirk is. But if not, he's sort of famous if you just casually follow politics or just sort of pop culture. He's sort of famous for being this guy that goes around college campuses and sets up a tent, and he brings in people predominantly that disagree with him to grab a microphone, and he has a back and forth with them. Pretty moderate, I would say, for today's Republican Party. I would say that my beliefs would be considered more extreme.
Oh yeah, like Charlie Kirk was milk toast Republican. That's the thing that like all of us on the right are like, dude, Charlie? They took out Charlie? He's the most milk toast moderate Republican, like Mitt Romney, Ron DeSantis Republican that you could come up with. And the left can't even suffer that. It's like Scott Presler said, how can we even coexist? How can we even coexist as a nation if that's the case? So dark times are ahead, folks. Ben goes, FYI, this is indeed bigger than the left-right thing. This is a uniparty problem. Yeah, the uniparty doesn't like these new interlopers of the MAGA movements and the populism. To be frank, this is, to be frank, Ben, no, bring it. I want the comments. All right. This is a stream for you guys as much as it is for me. If you're feeling outrage, if you're feeling like angst, whatever it is, express it in the comments. Okay. So that future generations will know what was the attitude on the ground the day that this happened. Okay. I'm giving my opinion, but we need yours too. So don't think like, yeah, bring it. We want to hear it. But because this, like, streams like this, it's going to be one of those things that like historians will kind of like scroll through like, oh, okay, that was the attitude back then, because now we've got a lot of data to go over old events. But this one, you're right. This is the uniparty versus the forces of populism. The uniparty will do everything they can within their power to stop populism. They will do what it takes to stop you. And because like as much as I hate to say, like the George Carlin bit about, we're in a nation that threw us all overboard 40 years ago, that system. And now the populists are shockingly getting popular because of it. And the old guard, the powers that be of the old generation just can't stand it. Okay. The baby boomer old guard of politics that literally sold their souls to get to this level of political power, and then the populists just come along and just sweep it all away. They cannot stand it. They went through the motions, and they went to the eyes wide shut mask parties. Okay. And who are you, rabble from the middle of America and from the south, and from Texas and from Pennsylvania and from Idaho and from all of these little corners that aren't supposed to matter to us very, very important elites? Suddenly they're the ones who get to have a day, and they can't stand it. Look what the left does when they don't have power. Okay? This is what the left does when they're out of power. What we did when we were out of power was complain. Yeah, that's what the right did. We complained. We didn't, like, even our protests were still peaceful, and even the worst ones, it was only the right wingers that got killed, and most of the other protests we actually cleaned up. It was nice. It was delightful. So yeah, the left is projecting what they've always wanted to do as well. Okay, they're gonna do this any minute, so we need to just. So literally, they became what they warned us the right would be. It's quite fascinating. Ben goes, reports are popping up saying Charlie was starting to criticize Israel and he was going to open the Epstein can of worms. Like, here's the thing. I don't think this is like, oh, Charlie was going to blow the lid off of something. So that's what the assassin, like, I think this was just literally the left has been demonizing people for so long that the stochastic terrorism has finally started to work, where the left commentators have wound up enough of their Looney Tunes in their audience, the point where they'll just go out and start hurting people. And like Destiny, when he's like, who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? Like, yeah, let's see how we're a minute into Rob. I want to hear what he has to say here.
In many ways than Charlie Kirk's. There are things with the way that he ran his organization, Turning Point USA, or specific political positions that I might not totally agree with. That's totally normal. But he seemed like a decent guy, and he seemed like the type of person that was affable, that you could have a conversation with, that was willing to open a dialogue. And it represents a lot of what I tried to do with my show, which is that, you know, the first video I ever put up my channel, I guess technically second, explaining what I wanted my channel to be, was about talking about issues for rural Americans and being a voice for them, potentially, as arrogant as that sounds, and to illustrate that we can have conversations with people even that disagree with us. And
it's become a lot harder today than it was yesterday, because the right was always willing to have the conversations with people that disagree with them. We saw today the left just isn't. They just are not. And now the idea is, yeah, now Rob is going to think twice about doing a public event. Andrew Wilson's going to think twice about doing a public event. That was the point of it. That was the whole point.
And I've been pretty steadfast in condemning all forms of political violence on my show. And I think that Charlie Kirk represented that in a far greater way than I do. He was more successful. And I think he epitomized the idea of leaving your logic and leaving your argument be the step forward, as opposed to your ego, or as opposed to, you know, threats or intimidation, and actually going into college campuses where he knew there was going to be a lot of people that were ideologically opposed to him. And so I've always admired Charlie Kirk for that. Most importantly, he seemed like a great husband and dad. So,
oh boy. Yeah.
I was hearing reporting just before I came on from John Solomon at Real America Voice that he has passed away.
Rob's understandably getting emotional here. This is really unfortunate. The only comfort that I have is that he proclaimed Christ. And so, you know, Christians like to get into interdenominational battles all the time. And one of his last videos was talking about how Mary is the Theotokos, that Mary is the mother of God, and Protestants and evangelicals need to kind of get over that, their kind of aversion to that, and they should just go ahead and call her the mother of God. And so that was one of his last videos. It's like, hey, Protestants, us Catholics and Protestants can get along. That was one of his last videos, which, you know, God bless. And without getting into much theology, yes, it's one of those things that I do acknowledge that, you know, God died on the cross, Mary birthed God, so therefore Mary's the mother of God. Okay, it's okay. It syllogistically works. Okay, now theologically we can get into that later, because Theotokos also technically means God bearer. But that was his one of his last videos, was getting into that very deep theological subject. So he was a man who proclaimed Christ. So it's one of the reasons why I'm not outpouring an emotion, is because I know that he's in the loving arms of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. But let's move on with some comments here. So they don't even have a patsy in custody. If they don't have a shooter in custody by now, it points to something bigger. Now, some people are saying, oh, that was a 200-yard shot, had to be an expert. Grow the farm up, I mean, most people that we went to high school with can shoot 400 yards and better just for a hobby with iron sights. Like you and me can shoot 200-300 yards with iron sights, let alone a scope, really no problem. And so the idea, it's got to be an expert. If we were talking 300-400 yards, yes, maybe someone that's well practiced, but 200 yards, sadly, you can train yourself up for a 200-yard shot in a weekend. You can just shoot a couple hundred rounds of ammo at a target and you can get yourself ready for a 200-yard shot. That's so, unfortunately, the list could be long. Let's see. Rob, I can't stand the word empathy. I think empathy is a made up new age term that it does a lot of damage. Charlie Kirk. Well, here's the thing. Weaponized empathy can be very damaging when people weaponize your empathy against you, which that's one of the things that sociopaths do all the time. They try to weaponize your empathy that they have none. So, I'm sure this quote's taken out of context and it's probably closer to something that I'm saying. Rob, most people have no idea how much better far range accuracy rifles have than pistols used in most yeah, like you are correct in that regard. Because like even a pretty bad rifle like a Mosin Nagant, you can still hit a shot at 200 yards with. It's going to start spinning off like that once you get much past it, but about 100, 200 yards, even the worst rifles, old military surplus can make that shot. But like, yeah, if you got like a reasonably decent deer hunting rifle and a few hundred rounds of ammo for practice, now, Grow the Farm Up makes a great point. One shot, one hit, made escape, points to a Netflix special pro. Yeah, this does point to like some John Wick level proficiency. Got in, got out, escaped. That's the third one is the big one. Escaped? Okay, because usually these Looney Tunes don't have the escape ready. The MK Ultra loser that they dug up to try to shoot at Trump, that guy had no escape plan. They waited for him to get a few pops off before they just lit him up and smoked him. But yeah, he was again a loser, and God was with the nation that day and was with Trump. Now, sadly, the guy behind him really caught a bullet, and that was a tragedy. But yeah, this is the America we're living in at this point. But yeah, you make a great point. This guy, one shot, one hit, and made his escape. The first two parts, like I said, you can train a 200-yard shot in a weekend. Okay, you can do that. But that third metric that you point out, one shot, one hit, made his escape. Dude, this is someone with at least some level of expertise and training, or a very meticulous, like sort of like Dexter style serial killer personality. But even then, it would be someone that would have to know how to get access to the roof in some way, because apparently those are key card roofs. So this is going to be, if they don't catch this guy soon, like you said, this is going to be the subject of every Netflix conspiracy theory and every, like NCIS's next season is just going to be about a copycat of this. My wife loves that show. Let's see. Starman. Been a long time, Starman. It's, how you doing? I would go back through his videos and try to figure out who he really angered. It could be. Problem is, when you're a public figure, it's a lot of people that could anger you. And you kind of gotta write it off, because like I kind of joked, because one time I got a death threat. It was a really weird and subtle way, but I showed it to Tony, and he's like, "No, Phil, that counts. That's a death threat. That's a death threat." It was some comment I made in one of my own YouTube videos, and this guy commented a clip of Jason stabbing someone through the neck, and that was his response to me. And Tony's like, "Hey, that counts. That kind of counts." So yeah, if you're going to be a public figure at all, you kind of have to have thick skin and just like, oh yeah, okay, another death threat this week. But yeah, if you're a public figure, you never know who you pissed off, especially a guy that's as widespread as Charlie Kirk. And hello, hope all's well. Thank you. My family is blessed. There was a loss at our church. A very dear member of our congregation, an elder, just passed away, and so we're in mourning for that. But with this that happened today, I had to had to come and talk to the people. Thank you. If it's someone big, he hit close to home. Yeah, I like Grow the Farm Up said, this is a hard one to get past. One shot, one hit, made his escape. Okay, like think about that. Okay, it's one thing if you're just determined to take a guy out because you're a Looney Tune and you don't care what happens after, and usually they don't. This is different. This is different. One shot, one hit, escape. That's here's the thing. Just about anybody can get anybody in this country, but getting away, you're going away in cuffs. Okay, that's the way that works. Okay, but this is different. Like the fact that they still don't have anybody, and I saw on on Twitter that the FBI is asking for like tips. Can you tell us if you've seen anything? That's like, ooh, uh oh. But all right, I'm gonna get Rob is getting emotional here because he's a father. He just had a wee little tyke not too long ago. And so, yeah, I mean, Charlie Kirk, he had 2 kids, he had a wife, he had a family. He's with our Lord now, so all his emotions are now fully tranquilized, all of his anxieties tranquilized, his pain is no more, but his family still misses him. Okay, and again, like I said earlier, it's because this is not how it's supposed to be. There's cameras everywhere. There has to be some footage of someone. There has been slight little footage of like, you'll see like 4 little grains of footage of someone walking away while people are kind of like, but there's not much. There is one guy that straight up filmed like, hey, there's somebody laying on the roof there. Did somebody see that? Yeah, there's a guy laying up there. So we do, but we don't have clear footage of who the actual shooter is. So, yeah, I hope this doesn't become another Jimmy Hoffa. But let's see. Let's get a little deeper into what Rob's got to say.
I don't know if that's true. Obviously, these things always change, but I think it's worth throwing all that stuff out there. Today, I'm not going to talk about anyone being at fault. I guess it's going to be boring. I'm not going to stream long, but I just wanted to talk about it for a minute to say what I think the most important thing is, and that's that this is a man that has a family, and they saw that. I saw it, so I know they saw it, and it's tough to watch. And it's weird because I'm naive. I'm just some dumb redneck. I always looked at it like I could have heated arguments, even with people that I feel have disgusting ideologies. And the last thing I would think to do is to wish them ill as far as like harming their family, physical violence coming to them. And I just somewhere deep inside me assume that that's what everyone's thinking. But clearly that's not the case. And this isn't the first time we've seen that. Just recently with the assassination of the United Healthcare worker, or with the attempts at Trump's life, the politicians that were killed in, where was it, Minnesota. So it's always weird. It's shitty. It feels a lot like when the assassination attempt in Butler, which is right in my neck of the woods, happened with Trump. It feels shitty like that, where I don't want to stream. I don't want to talk about it. And it's depressing. It's depressing to see not only that this is apparently going to become more and more commonplace, as I think was predictable, but it's depressing because you see a lot of people that you've at least tangentially interacted with kind of making fools of themselves. So I always try to give it a day or two before I start to weigh in on what I think, how we got to where we are. If you followed me during the assassination attempt at Trump, all I wanted to do was reach out to people, particularly that disagreed with me. I wasn't casting aspersions. I just said, can we all agree that political violence is wrong? Can we all agree with that? Can we agree? Whatever. You want to joke, you want to do this, you want to do that, fine. But can we start from a baseline? And I was shocked at how difficult it was to get people that I debate against to agree with that position. It's really a sobering moment for me. Some people that I massively disagreed with, I'll mention one person like Pisco, was pretty forthright that it was a disgusting attack and that stuff doesn't have a place. Many of the others I interacted with were far more hesitant. And it's a weird feeling because for me, it's not that I don't think people don't believe what they're saying politically or culturally. I certainly do. Some people I think are bad faith. Some people I think are so biased that they won't be upfront. But there's part of you that knows deep down. You read the post. You see the polling. You see what people say when someone like Trump gets an attempt on his life. And it's like, I can't be real, can it? Is that the world we live in? And it is.
See, Starman says, yesterday was 20 years since my grandfather left. Today was my godson's birthday. And tomorrow, well, Yep, it's in whatever direction the Lord wants to lead us at that point. But, well, I'm glad to hear about your blessings. And yeah, there's always that one loss that's the most poignant in your life. That's the before and after moment. Now, as a nation, I feel like it's Charlie Kirk right now, that we're going to measure things in before and after. Like me in my own personal life, it was my younger brother. I kind of measure my life in before and after that. Okay. And for a lot of people, it's a grandparent or it's something, but like that, there's always the before and after measurement in life. But I'm glad to see that you've got a lot of, like some kind of universal energy conjunction, or as the like all the kids really like the Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, they call it a canon event now. That's what what we used to call backstory, they call the lore. And what we called essential character arcs, they call canon events. Okay. And so yeah, like this is one of those, like you said, everything kind of converges now and everything shifts from this. And we are all going to think about American politics before and after this. And I don't like it. Neither do you. None of us like this. Okay. We would much, much, much prefer. Like I was so holding on to hope when I read those reports that he was still alive. I just prayed he was still alive. Even though the close-up footage was just like, no. Like that was so ghastly. That was so ghastly. When I saw that, that's when I knew, because the far away footage, you saw a big reverberating impact, but it looked like it hit here. Okay. And so I thought he could survive that. Okay. He might lose an arm, or he might lose a lung, but he can survive that. But then the close-up footage where he just bends over and you see the blood just gushing out, and that's because like the first one, I was under the impression that he had like a 30% chance of survival, but the second one I was like, it's like a 5% chance. It was my brother. My brother actually pointed out when I saw him today that, yeah, when you turn on YouTube, you can't find footage of it. But Twitter, it's all over the place. It's the only thing you see when you open up Twitter. And here's the thing. I get free speech and everything, but I just say I'm not the biggest fan of seeing all the people dying on Twitter that you see. Okay? Like, don't get me wrong, it gives you a very realistic idea of what a gunfight actually looks like, but man, it's like Twitter's the one app that I'm the most worried about my kids getting on. Okay, I'll put it that way. Like of all the apps, that's the one that, because yeah, guess what? Most of the internet's pornography. Okay, I don't like it. It's terrible. You should avoid it. But that's something that's just, it's in its own corner. It's isolated. It's contained. We don't have to worry about that. I mean, we do, but you know what I mean. Like, it's an awful thing that you need to avoid. And it's poisoning society, but it's contained in its corner. But on Twitter, all the people dying, that's kind of a mainstream thing. I'm like, Starman, my heart goes out to the Kirk family tonight. Yours and everyone else out there who can read this. May some kind of light illuminate you. I'm going to read again a piece of scripture here. And I'm going to actually throughout the night also play some scripture, but I'm going to read this one. It's the whole armor of God. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, the having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. And above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all the saints. And for me, the utterance may be given unto me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel. Thus ends the reading of God's holy word. And God bless you and your family, Starman, and everyone within the sound of my voice. Bless your family as well. Lord, guide us all. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Let's continue with what Rob has to say here.
That is real. And you know that there are people out there, it's like growing up in a small town. I remember the first time I heard about like sexual predators of children. I always assumed it was like a teenage guy. Like, that's not here. That's the city. That's somewhere else. And then you hear like, no, there's a guy in your town. You're like, how can that be? That's what it's like. It's like, yeah, I know there's lunatics out there, but not the people I'm interacting with, not the fans of the people I interact with. But that's not the case. And so it's difficult. It's difficult to look at what happens when a good man like Charlie gets shot. And I can't confirm that he's been killed. I'll check here, X. But I will say this. I think John Sullivan's one of the best reporters out there. And literally, as my intro was coming on, they were saying that he's been assassinated, that he did not make it. Utah Speaker of the House, Mike Schultz, apparently is confirming that Charlie Kirk is dead.
Good Lord.
Donald Trump put out.
Oh, Rob, I wish I was there with you to tell you he's with Jesus now, Rob. Okay? You have to take consolation.
The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired, especially by me, and now he's no longer with us. Melania, my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you. So,
yeah, this is tearing him up.
Obviously, anything could change, but if you
now keep in mind, Rob's a father, and so he's really identifying with him there. It's yeah, this is rough. This is rough, but
you saw the close-up view. I don't think that's surprising. When I saw it, I knew that there was no hope. Apparently, his
I'm looking
daughter
at the
was
script
there
right now,
which is pretty traumatic.
Oh, his daughter was there. Good Lord.
In other reporting that I heard about this that's maybe relevant, John Solomon, who I first saw, reported this, also says that the footage you saw of the older gentleman being led away in handcuffs, now law enforcement's reporting to him that was not the suspected shooter. Now, that's odd. This often happens in a lot of these shooting incidents. Not to be conspiratorial, I'm just calling the facts as I see them.
In my opinion, with that, the guy that wasn't the shooter, I'm guessing that was a guy that was probably carrying a gun with him. This is just my speculation, okay? Because his pants were down around his ankles. So I'm guessing the gunfire goes off. He pulls his gun thinking he's going to, defend himself. But it's apparently somebody from a rooftop. Everybody identifies him as the shooter. Yeah. I'm guessing, if it's just my speculation based on the fact that his pants were down around his ankles. So they took off all of his holster, everything, just to make sure he didn't have another gun because they thought he was the guy. Turns out he wasn't. At least according to reports. Lord Almighty. So let's continue just for a little bit.
This guy was saying things like, I have the right to remain silent. Shoot me, shoot me, shoot me. So if John Solomon's reporting that law enforcement still has the campus on lockdown and they think that this person wasn't the shooter. Now, could Solomon's sources be incorrect? Yes, that's possible. Could it be that law enforcement's just saying that because they think there could be an accomplice? And so instead of saying, yeah, we got the guy, they're like, well, no, we don't know if this is the guy. We don't have a suspect in custody. I don't know. Is it possible that the person that did this could be a right-winger that's more radical? Yes. Is it possible that it could be someone from a foreign country? Yes. All of that's possible. I won't speak on the shooter's motivations at this time. I think
that might be wise. I mean, we might find out some crazy thing, but I'm standing by what I said. It is all the rhetoric that made this possible today. This is not the first assassination attempt or a bit of political violence even this year or within this political cycle. Like Trump, they tried to take out twice. Okay? Everyone's rhetoric has made the temperature this high. And now, I mean, I'm sorry, but the fact that Grow the Farm Up said, the fact that the guy got away, this points to something a little more nefarious than I think any of us are comfortable admitting. But now he gets into destiny here for a little bit, so let's hear this.
Go to certain forms of social media, particularly with people that are anonymous accounts, on a lot of places like Reddit and Blue Sky, and even on platforms like X. There's a lot of disgusting stuff going out there about about Charlie Kirk, and I think that there's, even though I shouldn't do this, there is one special mention that I want to give. And one of the things it's difficult to do is
well, that's weird.
Admit when you're wrong. And I have to admit that I was wrong about something. I will never interact with that piece of shit Destiny ever again. Ever.
Hear, hear.
The blood wasn't clean before he tweeted that. I talked about with the assassination attempt at Trump, how I tried to give him leeway and say that some of it was jokes, that I was concerned about some of it. It's too much. So that's it. I do not give a shit. If I'm scheduled to do an in real life event and I find out that he's going to be there, I will not attend.
So weird that that's a phrase now. In real life event.
And if you couldn't see the full context, he's implying who will put the death date.
Yeah, just gleeful. Like I just gleeful. Like
that's
to me. Yeah, I mean he's right. I mean Destiny's downright gleeful that this is, and he always is. But like I said, it's like the story of, woman, you knew I was a snake. You shouldn't expect better behavior out of Destiny. Why would you? But to his orbiters, I hope you really examine yourself. Okay? Because a few of you are better than this. But, Rob, he's only got a few minutes left. I'm going to give the man his piece. Okay? And that before we move on with the show.
So it's possible that a shooter or accomplice is still out there. About how, particularly in Butler, there was such a security lapse. Obviously, it's different with Charlie, who's probably looking more at private security. Yet the investigations seem to be pretty bleak. That oftentimes when there's these high-profile assassination attempts, at least when directed towards perceived right-wingers, we get scant details.
Yep. And we don't
I would
even have a
expect
shooter
this not to be different.
this time. Yep.
I think that you're more likely to see things escalate. Regardless of what the motivation was, that'll be irrelevant. So I'm trying not to speak. I obviously have my thoughts and feelings. I have a lot I would like to say, but I'm trying to maintain sort of the rule that you should wait at least 24 hours.
Yeah, we've all got a lot we'd like to say. And for the sake of terms of service, most right-wingers are not saying all the things that they want to say. Yeah, let that one sink in for a minute. All the right now are not actually saying everything they want to say.
Before you really weigh in on this, I think the criticism of Destiny is warranted without having to do that.
True.
But I'm trying to hold my tongue on what I think about possible motivations and things and where they're going to go. But I do think that the motivation ultimately won't matter. There's going to be a lot of people that are happy this happened to Charlie. There's going to be a lot of people that will have a preconceived notion in their head as to why this happened on all sides of the ledger. And there's going to be a lot of people, for good reason, that don't trust the information that's going to be given to us. And so ultimately, I think that it's reasonable to expect that
Folks are not
rhetoric
gonna
and violence
trust
will escalate
anything.
as a result of this, regardless of.
Like, if we feel like it's just a con job cover up, people aren't going to believe it. They're not going to buy it, and that's going to be a big deal. The fact that we don't have a shooter that was recovered at the scene means that there's a chance we don't recover a shooter. Because, like I said, it's not like the old days when police did police work. Now they just scan cell phones and social media and security camera footage. That's what the police work is now. Now 90% of the time you can just get done with that. But like, if this guy wasn't carrying a phone on him, Columbo ain't coming out of retirement to figure this one out. Columbo's too old. Okay, that's the big problem here, is that the police are now. It's a different era of policing where the digital world does all your work for you, but now we got somebody that might have been able to counteract that, and Lord have mercy on us all. But let's continue here.
Of what we find out and how fast we find out about any possible motivations. Imagine being a young guy, 2015, 2016, and you're smart, you're articulate, you're a good speaker, and you sort of build this brand off of, your political ideology, your cultural ideology, and you work your way up from that into one of the most important voices, regardless if you agreed with them or not, in politics in the country. And particularly if you're on the right, I know there are a lot of people that thought the direction that he went wasn't necessarily exactly the direction that the party should be going. But it's easy to say that as, a Monday morning quarterback. It's hard to be the guy. It's hard to build something and be the guy. And he did that. And he was pretty likable as he did it. And he stayed pretty humble. And he built that. He built that over a 9 to 10 year period. He built Turning Point USA. And for that, he was killed. And politics aside, you can't help but think that someone that put so much energy into something like that, and that was probably the reason.
I mean, of course it was the reason.
Charlie wasn't.
I mean, the fact that he was effective politically was the likelihood of that being the reason that he was killed that day is pretty much 100%. The fact that it was politically motivated in some way, shape, or form based on how effective he was politically. Like that's like, I don't think there's anybody within the sound of my voice right now that would even question that. But I'm going to give
that
Rob
controversial.
He's only
compared
got a few
to
minutes left.
Right-wing figures today. What's the lesson? I am in a line of work that if I become successful enough, there's a good chance I'll be killed. The more influence, the more success, the more traction I would make, I'd be killed. Not just me. I'm a small fish. But think of the other people.
Yep, but that's the point, Rob. That chilling effect is the whole point. That's terrorism. That is terrorism. So now right wingers, outdoor events, they got to be worried now because they haven't even captured the Charlie Kirk shooter.
It's a weird feeling. And you know, when you see the rhetoric, you see it passing by, you see the vitriol, you see the polls, 55% of Democrats say the murder of Trump would be somewhat justified. 48% said it about Elon. You saw the reaction to the United Healthcare CEO being killed. Each step of the way, I was like, this is bad. This is bad. This is bad. And so if you're Charlie, you have to know every time you go out there, there's a risk that some lunatic could do something. I mean, there's a risk for any of us, but there becomes more of a risk. You're announcing where you're going. You're putting it out there publicly. You know how extreme some of these people could be. He was killed in one of the most brutal ways, in one of the most horrible videos I've ever seen when it comes to someone losing their life. Not that I'm making it a habit to watch a lot of videos like that, but it's worth finding out what's going on. I'll be straight up with you. I'll tell you exactly what I was doing today. I was
Before he gets into that, I just want you all to remember this is the favorite verse of a wonderful little old lady that went to my church. She's now with Christ. But this is her favorite verse, John 14:1. Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God. Believe also in me. Lay your troubles unto the Lord. That is all you can do in moments like this.
I was getting prepared for this Andrew Wilson, Owen Benjamin debate this evening, which seems fucking laughable now that they were kind of gonna attack each other over, insults and potential slanderous claims. And I think that both sides realize today's not the day for that. So I don't have much more to say. Sorry to Charlie and his family. And I'm not going to be streaming tonight or anything. I'll try to be back at some point tomorrow. But if I could give one piece of advice, I don't give a shit what side of the political ledger you're on right now. Please, 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 please don't say anything in a public space that's going to ruin your life. I know that people are pissed, but don't do it. Don't say anything right now. Vent your frustrations, say what you need to say, but don't say anything that could have legal consequences or otherwise consequences for you. I know that in the heat of this, I know what I want to say right now. I know what I want to say.
We all got a lot of things we want to say.
I'm not going to do it. So just please, please be mindful of that. Please, please. So, all right. Thanks, everyone. I know people gave super chats and stuff. I do really appreciate it, but I don't know that it's appropriate to read or talk about that stuff today. So, better times ahead. God bless Charlie and his family. God bless all of you. So, thanks, everyone.
Yes. God bless. And yeah, folks. Rob Noir torn up about this. Rob Noir torn up. Understandable. Yeah, I mean, man's a father. Like, yeah, I just had a little baby boy. I got an older kiddo running around out there, and yeah. Here's the thing, people on the right, keep in mind, if you were a little bit more famous than you are right now, that could have been you today. Grow the farm up. If you were just a little bit more famous than you are right now, that could have been you. Because Charlie Kirk had the most milquetoast right-wing views, okay? Like the idea that he was Mr. Right-wing. Now, folks, I've made a decision. Before we move on with anything else this evening, what we're going to do here is Just a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. All right. So, folks, we're going to take 1 moment of silence on this stream for the great Charlie Kirk. Amen.